All right, Alex Coe, welcome to Make Me a Drink with Billy Norden. I am so glad you decided to do this with me. So first things first, what are we drinking today?
We are drinking some Minute Maid lemonade, my all-time favorite drink, and I've always been drinking this since I was like a little kid because I wasn't really allowed to drink like Coke or anything, so we would just drink lemonade. And the pink version is personally better. That's what I think, at least.
Do you remember how young you were when you first started drinking this?
As long as I can remember.
As long as you can remember, okay.
So yeah, it's just always kind of been there, and I always just get it if I can.
Has it always been pink, or did you make that discovery at some point
Well,
in your life?
I think we drank like regular lemonade for a couple of years, and then we found the pink stuff, and we're like, oh, this is way better, and so we started drinking that. And then sometimes my dad will try to like mix it up, go back to the old type, or maybe get like
Why?
light lemonade.
Why would he mess with a good thing?
I don't know. He doesn't. He likes to always go for better things. But sometimes it doesn't hurt to stick to what you know with,
Right.
It's like, this personally is just a phenomenal drink, I just can't find anything better.
Right. I mean, I get your dad. Like, I'm sometimes like that where, like, I'm like, oh, can we improve upon this? But you're right. Sometimes you just mess with a good thing, and especially when you know, like, how delicious it is.
Yeah, and then other times, the pink lemonade's gone, so we just get lemonade.
Oh, man. How do you feel when that happens?
I'll just drink water.
You just abstain
Yeah,
completely.
I'll just drink water.
It's not worth it because you know how good it could be. And so
Yeah.
then it's just disappointing.
I'm just, like, not even going to drink it.
Uh-huh. All right, so cheers. Let's taste
Cheers.
this. Oh yeah,
It's good.
I can taste
But
how.
I just brushed my teeth.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Have you ever done orange juice after brushing your teeth?
It's disgusting.
Yeah, for me
Never
that's the
again.
worst. Well, I'm sorry that you had that, but I can see why the pink elevates it, right?
Uh-huh.
It like softens the harshness of the lemonade. It takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
How much of this how much of this do you go through now that you guys are home way more because of COVID?
We used to drink a lot more water now than we used to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say less, and also since we get like, it's normally out, like I said. No, since we're staying home, it's normally out, so we never really get it anymore.
Right.
So we managed to get some though, and that's cool.
Do you find that your parents are doing way more grocery shopping because of all this?
Oh
or not?
yeah. Yeah, they have to go out and get stuff more, or we try to limit our trips now, so we just get like more stuff, like, for a longer amount of time, but not necessarily like a lot of trips, just like one trip that can last us a while.
Right, and I'm sure you're just packing out the refrigerator and the
Oh, yeah.
pantries because you guys are growing like weeds.
And by a while, I mean like 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So have you found yourself so what grade are you going into?
I'm going into high school now as a
Okay.
freshman.
High school as a freshman. And have you found like your appetite has changed significantly from middle school, or has it just been the steady progression up?
I don't know. I eat a lot more, I'd say, than I used to. But, I mean, it's just, like, kind of how it is. Like, I'll just eat more food now because I'm, like, growing and stuff like that. But not a significant change, just, like, I've always had a pretty big appetite.
Yeah.
But it's, like, grown, like, and I can see how much it's grown.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now I'll probably eat more than, like, candy.
So how do you feel about the upcoming school year? Do you think that that's going to be more normal, or do you think it's going to look way different? What are you feeling at this point?
At some point we kind of got to just get back into things, but like, I don't think it'll be too different from what it normally is. There might be less people in the classroom, and that might be slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think our school will be able to adapt to that,
Mm-hmm.
and so we'll just little adjustments and stuff like that.
What's it been like for you personally to adjust? Everything happened so quickly in March. What was that like for you?
Well, I was kind of shocked at first. Like, we were all celebrating because school got shut down, so we were all thrilled at first, but then we're like, wait, if school shut down, what are we gonna do?
Right.
So now we're just kind of at home. I'll go hang out with my friends or whatever if they're home, if they're not always home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, kind of just been something we gotta get used to. I never really found that I had too much time to relax because then we were doing like online schooling. So even then we were just still busy and we were still getting a lot of homework, or we were getting a lot more homework, I think. and we had to like teach ourselves most of the content because like it was like towards the end of the school year, so they tend to push you harder then. But even then, like we still had a lot of stuff left to do, so it was all online. And
And so was it way more self-directed? Like you couldn't rely on your teachers
it was
as
a lot more
much?
self-directed. If you had a question, you would have to like email a teacher or contact a friend. But for the most part, I think I like handled that well. Sometimes it's hard to remember all the deadlines because different teachers use different like platforms. So most of my teachers would use Google Classroom, and that's what I would see to like keep track of all my homework. But sometimes there would be like my Chinese teacher who has like a separate Google Doc full of when the homework is due and stuff like that.
Oh, that makes it so much harder too.
Yeah,
if there's like
'cause I
different
always
systems.
have to scroll back and forth
Yeah.
between their different systems, and that was always probably the most frustrating thing. Is like when you're trying to find your homework, and you think you're done with all your homework, but then you scroll onto the Chinese thing, due tomorrow at 9 a.m. Just a whole page of stuff, all in Chinese that you have to translate.
Oh
and
my
just-
goodness.
But yeah, that's over now. It's been over for a while, so I'm happy.
What have you noticed about your sort of emotional health during this time? Was
Emotional health?
Yeah, was it difficult in the transition in any way, or was it just kind of carrying on as normal for you? What's it like for you?
Sometimes it's frustrating to be stuck in this area and not to be able to do a lot of things that I enjoy. But at the same time, I've been really fortunate to have enough, and to have a pretty spacious home. Because, like, in places such as, like, New York, where everything's so compact and whole families are living in tiny little apartments, I have enough room to, like, stretch my legs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was something I realized too. Like, as much as it's hard for each of us and we're all making sacrifices, to realize the blessings that we have. For a lot of us, there's so much to be grateful for, that it really puts it in perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's put it in perspective.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been that bad, honestly. Because there's still things to do. I still have to take care of things. And, I mean, after school is then I'm free to do what I want for the most part.
What's the summer been like for you?
I've been doing, like, soccer training with some of my friends from a distance. And soccer with our school just started back up. So things are starting to slowly, like, kick back into the motion and back into the way it used to be. So that for me has been good because I was starting to like get frustrated by the whole thing. But now that we're starting to get back into things, school's coming up sooner or later. School camps are coming up. Marching band camp is coming soon. So that'll be normal and I'll get to see a lot of my friends.
Yeah, it's nice to have those routines and to feel like to be able to see people in person again.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it really does.
All right, so let's talk about the Bible a little bit. What passage are you going to share with us today?
I was gonna share, let's see, right here.
Oh, you were saying that something interesting happened when you were looking for a passage.
Oh, yeah, I was scrolling through the Old Testament and I found some things that were intriguing to me because I noticed that they lived a lot longer than we do. Like, some of the numbers would be 800 years or something.
Right.
And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to read this literally or more metaphorically. How would you look at that?
Oh man, I had the same questions. I still have the same questions. Like, what in the world? Especially because, like, historically we know that we have some of the longer lifespans of humans, like today. So it's like, and I've heard all kinds of what I consider to be a little bit crazy explanations about like sin impacting lifespans and everything. I even heard of one guy who basically took all of the ages listed in the Bible and used that as a way of measuring how old the earth is. And of course he only got to like a few thousand years old, which we now know is like horribly inaccurate of how old the earth is. And so for me, it's like, okay, yeah, we know that can't possibly be, right?
Yeah.
So you have to read it. You have to ask different questions of it, like why were they saying they lived that long when it doesn't seem possible? And sure, there's mystery in the Bible. There's things we can't explain. But for me, so I don't have a great answer for you. I don't know why they listed ages that long. But one thing that I wonder is, I know for many of those cultures, to live a long time was a sign of God's favor on you. Like, the whole like live long and prosper thing. That's like Star Trek and ancient Christianity. But so I think it was a way of illustrating in these stories that were told around, campfires over the generations, was that these were people whose God favor rested upon. And so for me, I wonder if it's more of an illustration to show like, oh, God was blessing these people, but without reading it with a literal, like, they lived this many years.
Yeah. And another thing, too, would be maybe they measured time slightly differently back then as opposed to now. Mm-hmm. They might use different measurement. Maybe, like, year meant something different or a different measurement.
Yeah, that's important to remember, too, that when we're thinking about these cultures, this was an ancient culture that was further removed from how we see the world than we can possibly imagine. So, yeah, there's probably a number of those things where they simply looked at the world, looked at time, looked at science differently. And so, yeah, we have to ask questions like, oh, I wonder why this is here. I wonder what this meant to them.
Yeah.
All right, so what did you find then? Where did you end up in the Bible as you looked for a passage for us?
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Galatians 5:22.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Okay, that's the verse I found. And would you like me to read it to you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. By contrast, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against such things. And so, like, when I read that, that was really, like, meaningful to me. And because a lot of the stuff in the Bible is stuff you should not be doing, stuff that'll get you in trouble. And I found this, and it just meant a lot to me, like, oh, that's cool. There's stuff I can actually be doing instead of the stuff I can't be doing. Because there's no way I'm going to be able to do, or everything. No, there's no way I won't be able to mess up.
Right.
I'm going to mess up.
Yeah.
And I know that. But when I see this list of things that I can do, and traits that are good to have, then it just makes me feel hopeful. And that I'll be able to do some of these things,
Yeah. So, I find that too. When you get a list of don'ts, I mean, even if they make sense, it's kind of like pessimistic, right? Okay, I can't do this, I can't do that. But it's also hard because you know that, you're going to slip up. What are some of the don'ts in the Bible that you constantly find yourself like, I didn't really do that well today?
Well,
I know it's a very personal question.
I don't know. I just there's a lot of extreme things, and I wouldn't say I'd be doing any of those. Like, I don't think I killed anyone yesterday. So, but yeah, there's a lot of things like that, and I kind of know that. But there's other things like don't be greedy, don't steal things, don't be negative. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and Jesus even said with the killing someone, even if you've got that sort of anger in your heart against your brother, that counts, right? That's the same spirit of the law, right? And we're all there probably sometimes. Yeah, brothers, that can be the worst. So that can be hard. I think they're important, but I think you're right. I think, so this passage, some people call it the fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah.
And it's this list of amazing do's. And I love how it says there's no law against these things. It's almost like this is like a universal truth that anybody hopefully should be able to embrace, even if you're not considering yourself a Christian. So I don't know, what makes you happy or glad to have that list of do's in your life?
It just makes me glad to see that in my community I see people do that type of stuff all the time. Like, they share their things, and they're generous with their gifts and talents and their money, And so when I see that, there's I can appreciate a lot of the things that I am seeing, Like, in our church, there's a lot of the people are very generous there, and so it's just when you look at that and you can just reflect it to my life, and it's just there's so many good things happening, and it's not only bad things, because there's a lot of good things as well.
Where do you find a call, a personal challenge in those for yourself?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. But I try to be the best possible teammate I can be if I'm if I'm doing something on a team. Maybe if it's a group project at school, I'll be the best possible worker as I can be. I'll do as much as I can without stealing other people's work, and I'll try to be nice and respectful. And so yeah, there's so many examples. I can't give the whole list, but there's just so many, and you can see it in like it's just recognizing when those things are happening, and then you can take advantage of that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I find that sometimes I'll call these like countercultural things because it seems like they're not the way that like society wants us to act or culture or
Yeah.
whatever you want to say or even like marketers. So like I think for me like patience is one that's like I think is really good and really challenging for me because we live in a world where it's instant gratification. Like if you want it, like click Amazon Prime, get it to your house
Yeah.
the next day. Like we're wired to want things really quickly, but this passage says patience is actually more important than getting what you want quickly. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like this constant tension of like, okay, I know that I'm being pulled to act differently, but it's really important to keep that as my priority. So what for you in there is like a tension where you know that like it's hard to live into, but it's good to live into it.
Self-control, I'd say, because there's some times where you just like want to be angry and you want to just like let it out or just let it like control you or something. And I just like I'm always like just trying to like avoid being that because I know like there's negative things that can happen if you're too angry. It's okay to be a little angry every now and then, but like if you control yourself, then like and just like control it in the moment, then it's better for later.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like the self-control one. Oh my goodness, that's so
Yeah,
so
because
hard.
that applies to so many different people,
Hmm.
like including me. Because there's things that I have to just like keep in for now, and I'll talk about it later. And there's stuff like that, you know.
Yeah,
Just little things.
and to give yourself space to actually think about how you want to respond rather than just doing it in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Self-control actually can buy you time to be the person you want to be. Oh, but it's so hard. So here's a question for you. I think young people offer some of the most wisdom. You see the world fresh and you're often honest.
Yeah.
So what would you say to adults or older people, grown-ups? Like, what challenge would you offer to them, knowing that that's what we're being called to do by God?
Maybe just being patient, because a lot of adults have little kids, and when you have little kids, it's just it's all about patience because they're still little, you know, and maybe not too patient, but if you're patient, then it can lead to better solutions and just lead to you being a better person in general. Like by being patient, a lot of things go right, and it's just good to. All these things are good things, but I just looked at patience, and that's just a really solid thing to have, because I can give you an example if you want that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, if I'm explaining back in when school was still in session, if I was explaining something to one of my friends, like a math problem or something, because they don't understand it right away, and that's not their fault. So I can just, if they're actually trying to understand that, then I can help them understand that using my talents, and then like once they understand it, then they can do that stuff on their own, and so it's just better for everyone.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't patient, and if I was like mad and like irritated and like acting like I know so much more than they did, they probably wouldn't ask for help.
No,
and
they're
that
going to
would
be
probably-
defensive and yeah.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't ask me for help anymore, and then they would just like not get it, the help that they need, and then things wouldn't go right, you know?
You're preaching to me right now, especially the parenting thing with patience. Yeah, that's what I find with my boys. Like in our hardest moments together, the moments where I can cool off and just calm down and give space for things to get better, even if either of us are being ridiculous, like a little bit of patience goes such a long way in us being able to calm down, hear each other, and actually have something really good come from it. But man, it is so hard, especially with family members.
Yeah. Yeah. With family members especially.
Especially, yep. Well, thank you so much for this amazing drink. Thank you for sharing this wisdom with us today. Would you be willing to say a closing prayer for us?
Sure, I'll try.
Okay, thanks.
Dear God, thank you for everything you bless us with. Thank you for these conversations, and let us use these conversations, because now is the time that we can learn from each other and grow in ways. that we never thought possibly. So, thank you for lemonade and this Bible that we can learn from and become better with. Amen.
Amen.